Well, it's a hard part of life for all of us, but for some, pain is constant. In the United States, nearly 21% of people live with chronic pain. Johns Hopkins defines chronic pain as standing pain that persists beyond the usual recovery period. It can be complicated for patients and for doctors, especially when the source of the pain is unclear. A patient-doctor team for the University of Minnesota hopes to change that. Cemeteries aren't where everyone feels comfortable, but it's the type of environment that Olivia Hall is drawn to.
You hear a police officer or a doctor or a nurse, something like that in that area. You don't always hear, I want to be a funeral director.
But she does, a passion to serve, passed down from her grandfather. When you tell people what you do for a living, what's their first reaction usually?
Oh my gosh, how can you do that? Doesn't that gross you out? No, it doesn't.
She studied mortuary science at the University of Minnesota. She spends a lot of time on campus for another reason, too. How constant is the pain?
On a good day, I live at like a 5. On a bad day, is like a 9. And sometimes that can be treated at home, and sometimes I end up back here, unfortunately.
She's a regular at the M Health Fairview U of M emergency department because of an emergency she had back when she was 15. A snowmobile accident revealed a birth defect in her shoulder, and the pain persisted. It felt like
just like a constant aching and burning. Like nothing would take it away. It wasn't like a broken bone pain, which it was nerve pain, but we couldn't figure out why this nerve pain was happening.
For years, she ended up in different hospitals, needing painkillers. Have you ever felt like people just didn't believe that you really were
Absolutely.
in pain?
Absolutely. And I think it's because, when my chronic pain journey first started, there were days like you couldn't get me off my bathroom floor. Everything hurt so bad, like vomiting, out of control, like my legs would turn purple, my arms would turn purple. Like I literally had a doctor come up to me and tell me, you're just mad that I'm not giving you the drugs that you want.
What is the most frustrating part in your care journey?
Yeah, I think, the most frustrating part is like, we as women are expected to just handle things at a different level. When this is your everyday life and you're feeling these things every single day and you're over medicated and there's nothing they can do, and you're being told by an ER that there's nothing more that they can do for you. So they just keep giving you the same meds, but then they're like, okay, well, they're not working.
And through her work, she realized the levity of the situation as she worked with and ached with a family who understood.
I can remember the first suicide I ever showed up to, and it was heartbreaking. And it was actually a chronic pain person. And I remember thinking, it's all because she literally told her husband that if she couldn't find a doctor who listened to her, she was going to end her own life on this day.
That's why she wants to share her story for those who can't. A story about hope that she found at the emergency department on the U of M's campus. Do you feel like with Dr. Tidwell, you're finally seen?
Yes. Absolutely.
A South Dakota native, Dr. Tidwell embraced an area of medicine that can cause frustration.
I think it's really misunderstood. Unless you've had chronic pain, you don't really understand how much it affects your life.
But he did understand how affected Olivia was.
He literally pulled up a chair. I was like, hello. And my best friend was sitting there with me, and she was like, that is like the first doctor that has not questioned you.
For a physician who isn't familiar with chronic pain, I think it's really hard to not be jaded, especially sometimes you get burned once, and as a human, you kind of put up a defensive wall and say, well, okay, that's probably a drug seeker patient. I try to really give people the benefit of the doubt. Really, it's, innocent until proven guilty. I really believe in that in healthcare as well. Just because we can't see or get a lab or, really justify it objectively, that doesn't mean it's not real. So that's, I always go into it looking at, okay, you're experiencing pain. Why? And what can I do for that?
And you really think it's there?
I do, yeah.
With his partner and Olivia, they established a care plan, identified a faulty nerve stimulator, and weaned her off opioids.
Or I'm out doing things for the first time. Like, I can be a human. And that's huge, because 6 months ago I wasn't.
How does that land with you, hearing that?
I think it's amazing. And that's kind of the point of why we want to try to get people to learn to advocate for themselves, to really understand that, yeah, it can be a lot of work, but it can get better. It really can.
And Olivia has the energy to better serve others who are hurting. Healing that can happen when someone truly sees your pain.
I just want people to know that you're not invisible, that the care teams are out there.
Well, joining me now, Dr. Cody Tidwell, a pain management expert and anesthesiologist with mHealth Fairview and the University of Minnesota Medical School. I wanted to have you on, Dr. Tidwell, to talk a little bit more about this. I learned a lot because I had heard the phrase chronic pain, and it's kind of like, okay, well, what exactly does that mean? How do you sum it up?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. So chronic pain formally, as a definition, is pain that lasts more than 3 months, and it can be from really any cause. I think of pain kind of in different buckets because does it come from like a sprain, musculoskeletal type pain? Does it come from nerves? Does it come from organs? Does it come from cancer? There's all sorts of different mechanisms of pain, but they can all fall under the chronic category.
And it could be all over your body, like you're saying.
Absolutely. It can be just a single joint, a focal area, or it can be, diffusely through the body.
Okay, and I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a patient who, say, is having chronic pain. And then perhaps they go in once, perhaps they go in twice, and it's like, okay, well, the scans are clear, we don't see anything. And it kind of makes you feel like, what's going on? Am I crazy here? So what's your experience with those cases, and what advice do you have?
Sure. I think it's difficult as a physician to not have objective data. We're always looking for a lab, we're looking for an imaging finding, we're looking for something to kind of like, aha moment, here's our diagnosis. Unfortunately, we don't get that a lot. And I think it's frustrating both for me and the patient to not see what is the obvious cause. But that doesn't mean it's not there. I always err on the side of, you have pain. I may not be able to tell you what it is or why it is, but let's figure out what we can do to treat it. Kind of get your life back. I tell patients a lot, my job is to help you get the pain from here back here. I can't cure it. Nobody's going to be able to cure pain, but if I can make you live your life again, I think that's my goal with my patients. And I think a very important thing is self-advocacy.
Yeah, and you said that Olivia really did that right here.
She did.
And so that's, I think, a big question for our viewers out there going, this thing is hurting, I'm not getting answers, what can I really do here? So when you say self-advocate, give us an example of how.
Yeah, I think Olivia was a great example of this. Unfortunately, sometimes with chronic pain, if we don't have those objective findings, patients do kind of start to feel like, am I crazy?
Yeah.
Kind of feeling they're gaslit, or it's not actually there, is this in my head?
Right.
Sometimes you just have to find the right person. Unfortunately, there's stigma with chronic pain patients, like, are they drug seekers?
Right.
So you just have to, continue to say, hey, look, I really am in pain. I'm willing to do the work. Even if we don't find an answer, help me live my life better.
And I think that's really interesting because could it be even the approach of how you word it, as opposed to, I'm so mad, I'm so frustrated, maybe saying, hey,
absolutely,
listen to me, I've done my research, I want to work with you.
Yeah, and I think it's very frustrating, probably especially as the patient, to not to hear the same thing over and over. Okay, here's the medications, here's the door.
Right.
But a lot of patients don't want just pain medications. They just want to feel better. And so just being open in communication, I think, is very important for both sides.
Yes, because you're both doing the work, just like you and Olivia together did the
Absolutely.
work. And then tell people again the clinic you work at if they want to get information.
Yeah, I work at the mHealth Fairview Clinic by the East Bank on 909 Fulton. And then we're also working on getting clinic time in Wyoming. So I do procedures there right now and trying to work on rural outreach, kind of a little bit of that home South Dakota
Yes,
feel.
because you're a rural guy. Yeah.
I am.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for what you're doing. Thank you for listening so well.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.